Alrighty. So, hey guys, welcome to the 17th episode of Let's Talk Comics, where myself and another co-host in the comics community discuss one of the many facets of the storytelling medium that is comics. Whether it be stories, creators, constructs, or adaptations, we hit it all. Now, this week we have a returning guest in our friend, our partner in the comics book community, Lewis from the Geek Fortress. Brother, it's so good to have you back on.
Dude, it's good to be back, man. I'm always down for this. Been super busy with the holidays and everything, but I'm glad we're able to catch up and just pick up right where we left off and talk about the stuff that we love.
Oh, yeah, man. And so this week, as you guys can tell by the title, we're talking adaptations to comics, and that's the first season of Titans that aired on the DC Universe streaming service. Now, there was a lot of expectation going into this, whether it was good or bad, based on the trailers, based on the DC Extended Universe's reputation as of that point. And we're going to get into a little bit of our thoughts, our reactions to the show, what we thought going into it, and overall just discuss Titans. Now, you guys know every week when we do Let's Talk Comics, we give our pull of the week. Since we're not actually doing a direct comic book topic, we're actually going to very vaguely give you an idea of what our favorite episodes of the first season was. Lewis, since you're the guest, do you want to let the good folks of the internet know what your favorite episode of Titans was?
No problem, man. I'll even tell you the name of the episode. Jason Todd. It's probably my number one episode of the whole series. Not series, it's not over yet. The whole season. Beautiful background story in Jason Todd. Some insights on even Dick Grayson, even though the episode was called Jason Todd. It was like one of those episodes that breathed some air in the show, because the show was like a roller coaster, It had its ups, it had its downs, but that episode was just like, wow, I'm in. And before I knew it, it was over, and I was just like, what? I need more. What? So that's the reason why that's my favorite episode. And then seeing that the difference between Dick Grayson and Jason Todd and the way they portrayed it, they're really good. I'm really happy with the casting.
Yeah.
Really happy.
Yeah, say anything about the show, but the casting was excellent. All the actors did a spectacular job maintaining not only like professionalism in the role, but also portraying these characters and kind of bringing them justice to the big screen. Because a majority of these characters have never seen live screen adaptation.
Nope.
So
never.
No, yeah.
And it's
no, continue, my man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say it's so nice to see that little by little with different mediums, whether the movies or the TV shows, whether it's this DC streaming app or the CW shows, whatever it is. I just love to see these larger than life characters come alive from the page to the screen. It's just something so fantastic. I don't know, like I can't explain the feeling to see like when I was a kid and I used to watch Justice League, Super Friends, all of these shows, and it was just like a cartoon, but to me that was like my life, And then seeing them come to life in this such larger than life TV show or whatever it is, it just gives me goosebumps every time. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's something about doing something in a creative medium where you have to kind of maintain this level of childish excitement for everything. And honestly, it makes it that much more rewarding. I know when they first released images of Brenton Thwaites in the Robin costume, say what you want about everything else, but Dick Grayson looks freaking spectacular.
Yeah, I remember that's how they got me, because I remember I was a little cynical about Starfire and about Beast Boy not being green all the time. But when I saw the Robin outfit on him, I was like, holy crap, he is Robin. And you know what? I see him as Nightwing. That's another topic altogether. But I can see him being Nightwing. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And on the topic of favorite episodes, boy, that Jason Todd episode might take the cake. I would definitely give like an honorable mention to I think it was called Together, and it was the first time that that Robin, like that Dick Grayson shows the group that he's Robin, and he beats the living piss out of the nuclear family.
Yes. That's like definitely. I second that for sure.
That was an excellent, but man, Jason Todd, they just did such an excellent job contrasting the mentalities between Dick and Jason Todd and
Yeah.
the generations of Robin, and it even kind of brings some insight as to the potential development of Batman, who you haven't up until that point you haven't seen once.
Nope.
So it's just there are a lot of things that are unsaid, explicitly, but that are done implicitly that just make this show a real gem to watch. There are a lot of great Easter eggs. But yeah, that Jason Todd episode I think was excellent because we got a lot of development from Dick Grayson by that point. We learned a lot about Jason Todd. And I don't know, at the end, that warehouse scene with Jason Todd.
Oh yeah.
I knew he had a chip on his shoulder, but up until that point, I didn't think that was the Robin that we were going to see. So,
dude, all I could think about in that scene, I was actually like, "Wow, he's already Red Hood. Look at that!" Like those were my thoughts. Like I wasn't even like, "Look, it's the new Robin." Like I even turned around to my wife and I was like, "Wow, he's Jason Todd Jr. Look at that."
No,
but at the same time, my cynical ass was like, "Hey, you're gonna die." But that's another story. Because I don't know how they're gonna take the character in the show, but the possibilities are endless, and that's what I love.
And you know what, they got some really great people behind it, so I'm excited to see where that goes. We got a little bit of chatter in the comments. Infinity Comics PR just talking about the print. I guess he was there when I was showing you that print. And Jake,
probably, yeah.
Comic Man Jake says he's sad that we didn't see the Nightwing costume. I am too, but you know what? I'm also not really heartbroken at the fact that we didn't get Nightwing at the end of the season because I know we're gonna get Nightwing. It's not like we're left on a cliffhanger that'll never be resolved.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed because Nightwing, he is love and life, but Jake knows. But it was the after credit scene that we saw at the end made up for it. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was like. As a matter of fact, the moment they mentioned Superman in the show, I was like, I'm done.
Yep.
I was like, I love it. Mm-hmm. Like, even when that little, in the Donna Troy episode, when it was like the conversation between Bruce and Diana downstairs while they were upstairs, I was like, oh my God, they own all their characters. They can say anything they want.
Yep.
It's amazing.
And there are a lot of great little hints. And like, I'm not going to say too much about it now, but in the finale, when you see all of those characters in Arkham, and it's like, even if it's like just nods and them like, kind of, getting a quick pan over, I was like,
yeah,
bro, like,
I know.
That's awesome. That's so great. Like some of these characters we will never see ever on screen, I don't think. And if we do, take my money.
I know.
But, we've talked a little bit like vaguely about our favorite episodes. Let's kind of take things back. So going into this, there was a lot of skepticism for a lot of DC fans and just television fans that were interested in Titans, right? Everybody was exposed, or at least our generation was exposed to the Teen Titans animated series, which was very, very beloved, but also it took a very, very creative direction away from the comic books. It had a lot pertaining to it, but it was also very different. So a lot of people who didn't read comics kind of walked into Titans expecting it to be like this. They expected the same bubbly Starfire. They expected, Booyah Beast Boy. But there was also a lot of backlash to those trailers. Now, I'm curious, Lewis, going into Titans, based on, the previous experience you had with the DCEU and with, again, the trailer, what were you thinking going into the first season of Titans?
Well, I gotta say, I was skeptical. I mean, I saw the first trailer, and as I mentioned earlier, I was a little cynical toward like the outfits at first. And there's a couple of things that still bother me, but I'm hoping for the future that they're gonna get better. One of the things I remember seeing in the trailer is like, I'm worried that Beast Boy will only turn into a tiger. Like, I remember that was one of my first thoughts, and that ended up being the case for the show. But again, we see the possibilities of what can happen in the future, so that makes me happy. And Starfire, the Ho outfit. Sorry, the Lady of the Night outfit. That bothered me a lot. And
yes,
like, when
folks, she dressed like the gardening tool. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Good man. Good save. And the maybe lose my train of thought. That was good. But once I started watching it, I didn't go in expecting Cartoon Network Teen Titans at all.
Mhm.
I knew just from the tones, from the trailers, from the outfits that I had already seen that this was going to be different. I didn't at certain episodes I didn't expect the level of darkness to reach where it did, but
Mhm.
I found myself embracing it, and I enjoyed it, and I don't think I would change that now that I've seen the whole first season. I wouldn't change that. It made sense. Like going back to what we had in one of the early reviews that actually you did for the channel for the Geek Fortress. It's you see a Dick Grayson, more realistic Dick Grayson. He's
Yeah.
messed up.
Yeah.
He's been with Batman, and Batman, I mean, he doesn't kill, but he damn near kills people with like
Yeah.
violence and punches and stuff. So that's what he's used to. And going back to the episodes when he's like, when I put on the suit, I'm not myself. I feel like violence takes over, and it was just great. I mean, yes, I fall guilty of judging it a little before the show came out, just because I think a lot of us were a bit cynical, a little bit judgmental before we gave it a shot. But at the same time, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to watch it because I don't like judging something without watching it. Like even for a
Right.
movie, if I hear a review or in my own reviews, I always say be your own critic.
Right.
Just because I say this doesn't mean that you're gonna feel that way. So in that case, it exceeded my expectations, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And
and
it,
going into the
yeah,
DCEU, one of my biggest things were like a lot of people were saying, for example, that Batman v Superman failed because it was dark.
hmm
I disagree. Batman v Superman failed because it was a poorly structured film. It
yes,
had plot holes and no real driving motive for the characters. It
yes,
wasn't because it was dark. A lot of the people that were complaining about how dark it was were the ones that were sitting like fully erect watching The Dark Knight,
yep,
which is a considerably darker film. So going into this, I wasn't upset looking at a darker tone. I don't
hmm
care. To be quite honest, I'm one of those comic book fans that tend to like when you take some elements of realism or at least
hmm
like realistic social and mental problems and implant that in fiction, because then you get to see how that plays out in a totally different landscape. And honestly, when I did that review, because I remember the first thing of yours I had ever watched was because we were both in New York Comic Con
hmm
when the first two episodes dropped, and I saw your review of it because you had
hmm
just joined that group of ours,
yep,
and I was like, huh, because I know going into it you were saying about, oh, I don't know about the tone, and so when
yeah,
I
yeah,
made
yeah,
that video for your channel, one of my goals was like, I'm gonna make him change his mind.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna
for
make him
sure.
change his mind. I was like, he's like, we're gonna talk about this. You're gonna see what I have to say, and then
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So that it seems
Yeah,
like
dude,
that
and
that
and
worked.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy. I've come to really appreciate the hints of realism in this kind of TV shows, because a comic book, to an extent, it's this fantastic story that, yes, it will show some social commentary, but it won't take it to the point that the Titans did. Some, like, in real life, Dick Grayson was taken when he was before he was a teenager,
Right.
and he's beating people up and jumping off roofs. Yes, he's gonna be messed up.
Mhm.
He's not gonna be all happy peaches and flowers. No, he's gonna be messed up. And
Right.
I remember after I watched your review before I posted it, and I was like, wow, this is beautiful. I completely, so you succeeded with that, man. And also, and so did the writers. They indulged me into this world that they created for the characters, and the characters are relatable. Yes, they're larger than life, but at the same time, you sit there and you're like, wow, I completely see why Dick is the way he is. Why is And then after you see Jason Todd and the way he is, you're like, damn, freaking Dick Grayson is an angel.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you. And plug, if you guys haven't checked it out, when you're done watching this stream, in the description below, go check out Lewis's channel. We did some back and forth collaboration on Titans episode reviews, kind of like one and then the other. I think I started with episode 4.
I believe so. Yeah.
I think I did 4, 6, and 8, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So make sure you guys go check that out. Go show Lewis some love. Speaking of some love, we got some in the chat here. Antuhar, my favorite episodes. Man, I don't even know because I like the majority of these episodes. It was quite a unique take, and it made it made it to be a really cool series that sets itself apart from both the CW and the DCU. I wholeheartedly agree.
Agree.
This series honestly felt like the early stages of a Netflix TV show.
Yeah.
Like this, I mean, I like Daredevil more than I like Titans. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see cinematic and storytelling essences and similarities between this and something like Daredevil. It was, I mean, even just talking about the cinematography, it was shot like a premium Netflix show.
Yeah.
You know, so
It really was.
and CW still kind of has some really finicky shots that kind of remind me of Smallville, you know, back in
Yeah.
like the early to mid 2000s. And for the most part, I feel like Titans kind of avoids that. So good eye, Ant. Good eye. And
Yeah.
Infinity Comics,
It's 100% true.
yeah, Infinity Comics PR. I love that when Dick fights, he uses the environment as at his favor since he doesn't use a gun and his fighting is brutal. That's one of the things that I love was that they didn't shy away from the brutality of the combat scenes.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
remember seeing the one scene when he like hits the guy's head against like the broken glass in the window. And I was just like, damn! But then it was like, I would have done the same thing. Like
Yeah.
that came to my mind. I was like, that was ruthless, but that's a good move.
Well, it's like most people when people when people were reacting to the trailer, some people loved it. I loved it. I was like,
Mhm.
holy shit, this is like Daredevil like fight choreography level.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people were like, well, you know, he's beating the shit out of. I was like, well, he's not kissing them.
I know.
Like he has to make it so that they're not getting back up. He's not
Yeah.
killing them, but he's certainly not kissing them and tucking them into bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what it is? What broke the internet was when he said "fuck Batman." I think that's
I
what
thought
started.
it was fine.
Dude, my actual reaction was like, oh. Like I think that was my actual face. Like I didn't do reaction videos at that point anymore, but that would have been my face because I remember. I think I watched it by myself the first time, and I was just like, I got no one to do faces to. Who do I talk to about this?
Yeah.
And I rewinded and I watched it like 4 times when he said "fuck Batman." And I remember thinking to myself, I cannot wait to see the context of this once it plays out. And it made sense. But even before that, I was like, I get it. He wants to get away from the shadow of the Bat. That's Dick Grayson. That's what he did. That's what he does. That's how he becomes Nightwing. So it was just perfect.
Yep. And no, I totally agree. Andrew Rinaldi in the chat. I haven't watched Titans yet because I don't have DC Universe, but you better believe I'm signing up for it now that Young Justice is on. Those first 3 episodes were solid.
Yeah. I haven't seen them yet.
They were solid. That's all I'll say. But you know, the entire first season of Titans is up. I think that immediately, along with they've been uploading so much more high quality comics to that. Like I haven't really had much time to read those, but man, I've been just kind of like browsing through. They've added more animated stuff, more like actual silver screen films.
Oh yeah.
It's becoming a lot more worth it. And for me, like I paid for like that bundle when it first came out. So I got like 15 months for I don't remember what it was. It was like 50, $60.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. But it's totally worth it. And then we're gonna have Doom Patrol coming up in a month. That
looked great.
That looked amazing. So it's like
I thought Cyborg looked a little bit clunky. Everything else looked great.
Oh yeah, it's you know what it is? It's the eyepiece. The eyepiece looked weird. I think that's what it was because I thought the same thing. But hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because they made what's his name? Robot Man look good. So I think they can make Cyborg look good. You know, I mean, let's not judge it yet. Let's see.
Right.
Let's wait and see.
Well, I mean, the what was it? Episode 4, the Doom Patrol episode was spectacular. So, seeing people working on that show. So, you know, you got me. I'm gonna watch the shit out of it. I was very skeptical going into episode 4, and I remember watching it and reviewing that for your channel, and I was like, wow, like this was 20 times better than I expected it to be.
Yep.
You know,
100%. I agree.
That was spectacular. So we've given a little bit of our thoughts kind of going into the first season of Titans. So you get into it. You watch the first couple episodes. So basically, like leading up. So at issue 1, we just kind of get a brief introduction of the characters. It mainly focuses on Dick and Raven with a little bit of Starfire. So you know what I love about this? I know a lot of people, so this isn't a huge spoiler. For a lot of you that were angry about the Hooker Starfire costume, I honestly, by the end of the first episode, I had enough context. I was fine with it. Like when they kind of revealed that she's been living a double life, so to speak, pretending to be the arm candy of some sort of spy unit. So she, obviously he's gonna dress her up in really lavish, kind of out of this world crazy stuff, including that the fur coat, the go-go boots, the tight dress. I was like, honestly, like the context was enough. After I saw the first episode, I was totally fine.
Yep, it made sense. It made sense.
Yeah, because I mean, I had a buddy of mine that was like, I still don't like it. I was like, I don't like it, but it has context. It's not like it's there to be her costume. It's there because it has a reason in the narrative. So, I mean, for me, I was totally fine with it. And then obviously, I can't speak about how freaking great the Robin costume was. Like that.
I know.
That was better than it had any place deserving being.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's so crazy because I remember when I first saw I think it was Batman Forever, when you see back in the day when like they first introduced like Dick Grayson and stuff.
Yeah,
and Chris O'Donnell. And I remember his outfit looked like Nightwing almost, and I was like, wow, he could just be Nightwing instead of Robin. And I thought that outfit was good. Silly me back in the day. And then you see this masterpiece, and you're just like, damn, that is just fantastic. And they hit it out of the park. They really did. I mean, the whole show, it was just a beautiful ride. I'm so glad I gave it a shot. I mean, I was always going to give it a shot, but I'm so glad that I didn't like wait for the whole thing to be done and then watch the whole thing. I was like, no, I watched episode by episode. I was there for the cliffhangers. In the last 3 episodes, they leave you in a cliffhanger on the penultimate episode, and then the next episode has nothing to do with it, and then you have to wait till the last episode, and you're just like, oh my god, and then the after credit scene, it was just like, oh my god, sign me up for 5 more seasons or more. It was great. It was great.
It'll be really exciting because we're adapting, the new Teen Titans, like the daughter of the demon, the Trigon story. And obviously I think next season's where we get Nightwing because unless
I just got goosebumps.
I mean, no, we're definitely getting him next season because I would normally say, oh, they're going to do a Judas Contract adaptation and that's where we get Nightwing, like they did in the comics, but he's already not Robin, so I assume we're going to get Nightwing. What I'm really curious about, and I doubt that this will happen, do you think that in any capacity they're going to do it like the comics where he gets the name Nightwing from Superman? Like, do you think maybe, just maybe?
See, I'm so happy that you asked this. I'm so happy that you asked this because I didn't have that much hope until I saw that after credit scene in the last episode. Because I was like, if they have that, they may be able to show another character, and they may be able to show a flashback when Clark is telling young Dick about the Nightwing and the Flamebird, and if they somehow, which again, it's a long shot, like you just said, but if they do the name from that dude, I can die in peace. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. Like, just do a little flashback. You don't even have to show me as Superman. You just do like you did with Bruce,
Just show him like the flowing cape.
Yeah, and just telling him the story, and then just like young Dick being like, and then just, dude, that's a dream. That's a dream. But I mean, to be honest with you, if there's, I can't say too much because there's people who haven't seen the show, but if we see the thing that the guy at the end of the after credit scene took out of the thing inside the cage, if they have that character, I think we can pretty much say that they're going to have the other character. I hope you're keeping up with me here. I'm sorry, I just can't say any names.
Yeah, I got
you. But I have hopes. And I really hope they do it. And I as soon as I saw that, my first thought was like, oh my god, they can do a flashback where he can tell about the Nightwing and the Flamebird, and then this and that. I sounded like a broken record. I don't even think I my wife could understand me because I was just like rambling to her,
Yeah.
and then she was like, "Oh my god, that would be so cool!" And I was like, "Oh no!" Sorry,
No, it
it would
be
be
really
epic.
cool. It definitely opens up a lot of opportunity. I mean, I think that the biggest opportunity was seeing, and you don't even get to see them, was the mention of Wonder Woman and Batman downstairs in Wayne Manor talking.
Oh yeah,
You know,
I know.
like this show is not afraid to name drop anybody
Nope.
in the universe, which I think opens up a lot of barriers. I think that just the notion that there are so many characters that the Arrowverse was just never allowed to touch
Yep.
gives them a lot of space to play. I mean, we will definitely never see any of those characters adapted until, for some reason Netflix loses its hold on the streaming rights to the CW shows,
Yep.
and the DC Universe app can finally stream those shows. But there's still plenty of opportunity.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely exciting. I think too, from the very beginning of the Titans, I love how they start relationship building and developing characters from the get-go. We learn their flaws, we learn about the things that they have to overcome, their inner demons, their anxieties, their insecurities, their flaws, and their strengths. And I love, one of my favorite things, honestly, and I know we've talked about this a little bit before, was the brother-sister relationship between Dick and Rachel. Because Rachel very much represents the little boy that Bruce rescues. And,
Yeah.
I think it was episode 1 where, or it was either episode 1 or episode 2. No, it was episode 1. No, it was episode 2. It was episode 2, where, Bruce is talking to his partner in the police unit, and he even kind of expresses some sort of gratitude towards Bruce. No matter how much he resents Bruce, he understands that without him, he doesn't really know where he would have been.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of emotional layers to this show, and I love how for him Rachel represents, the little Dick Grayson on his knees in the middle of a circus act, after watching his parents die.
Yeah.
And also, Tegan Croft, I think, does an excellent job at playing Raven. She thinks she's
She does.
on-screen Raven.
She does. As the show went on, she just got better and better. She got really into the character. It was refreshing. I liked it. I mean, for a first ever on-screen adaptation of Raven, she kicked it out of the park. For real. And it's funny because I was reading some forums where people are like, "Oh, she doesn't seem like she knows how to act," or blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yo, out of your damn mind." She's really good in my opinion. I mean, people just start nitpicking at like the most random things, but I like her. I think she has a lot of potential, and as the future goes on, I mean, we're gonna see more and more stories, and it's just gonna be awesome.
Yeah. No, she did an excellent job, and I like her chemistry with Brenton Thwaites, who plays Robin.
Yeah.
I think Robin. I mean, Brenton Thwaites is probably my favorite casting out of everybody in Titans. Runner up, probably Ben Potter, who plays Beast Boy, but Brenton Thwaites just does an excellent job at convincing me as the viewer of his chemistry with every single character.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the phone, like when he's talking to Alfred, and you can't even really hear Alfred, you're convinced, like, oh, this is the grandfather. Like he's the grandfather figure who kind of understands that the boy's father, aka Bruce Batman, is being a bit of a brat about his son leaving home.
Yeah.
So it's excellent job. And I remember one of the things that you had mentioned. For the first like two episodes, you were like, "Where's Beast Boy? When are we getting Beast
Yeah.
Boy?" And then episode 3, we got him for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
In the little arcade, and then episode 4 hit, and we got him in the introduction of the Doom Patrol. I thought that was
How
really
symbolic is that?
I mean, I just thought it was
amazing is
really
that?
ballsy. I mean, in the same episode that you introduced Beast Boy, we get the whole Doom Patrol, and to be 100% honest with you, it was absolutely perfect.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And one of the things that, oh man, so I remember that first scene where he hides, Beast Boy hides Raven in his room when he hears Robot Man coming in, and she thinks that he's leaving. Beast Boy kind of sets a diversion, and he just opens the door, and you just see Robot Man's face.
Yeah.
It's just like, that looks spectacular.
Yeah, it really did.
like they visually did an excellent job. And one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode, once he realizes she's there, Robot Man reluctantly like lets her join them for dinner.
Yeah,
And you get to see your Negative Man is in the kitchen listening to
I know.
cooking.
Just cooking. Yeah.
I was in tears laughing. I
know.
was so in tears, they just laughing and enjoying and watching them. I was like, this is the Doom Patrol. Like they're weird and they're out there and they're quirky. The cast. I mean, obviously, for half of them, you can't actually see their faces.
Yeah.
But, they just did such an excellent job with the ambiance and the atmosphere around those characters, man.
I know, dude. It's great. That was the hook. I mean, it was a backdoor pilot, but they blended it in so well
And yeah, and
that it didn't feel like it.
forced. They weren't just like Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like they organically introduced these characters, and you're like, shit. Like if you didn't tell me that you were gonna make a show, I would have asked you for a show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
They did such a spectacular job there, man. So for you, was it episode 4? What was your highlight of that episode for you with the Doom Patrol?
I would have to say Robot Man, just because I love Brandon Fraser. That's number one. And as soon as I knew that he was gonna be him, and to see the costume, it's just perfect. But not only that, but his story, how sad it is. Like when he's watching Rachel eat, and you can just, even though he doesn't say it, he's thinking, like, damn, I miss the flavor of chicken. I miss the flavor of that. Like, it's such a tragic story, but he handled it so well. I mean, he has a sad background. He was in a car accident. He was a racetrack driver, and then his brain was transplanted and all of that. And even if you don't know his story, they give you a gist of it, and you're like, wow, I feel for this character. And what I like about this kind of things in shows is like when these characters that people may not know, or that even if you were a comic book fan, you were like, okay, they're the Doom Patrol. But now stuff like this comes up, and then you see that Amazon sales for Doom Patrol traits go up, and all of this. I think that it's ultimately the most beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah.
To get more people to get into the stuff that we love. It's just magical.
And speaking of the character introductions, they did a great job at just really expediting and throwing in every single one of their origins, except for the Chief. But we got like brief origins for all the characters. It didn't feel rushed. I felt like I got plenty of information about them going into it. And I love Rachel interacting with the Doom Patrol. Like you can tell for the first time, she truly kind of felt at home with them, and their insecurities. And that was the first episode where we finally really got a taste of her comic books in comparison to, with her, the taste of her power in comparison to the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more of the the empath powers and being able to feel other people's emotions and heal people and take their sadness. You can tell that her personality is reflected by that because, you had mentioned, for example, they're at the table and Robot Man's like, I wish I could, it's like, I miss chicken. I miss dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And she just tries to cheer him. She's like, well, why can't you dance? I thought it was a beautiful thing about this girl who really knows what it's like to be sad, and she just doesn't want other people to feel the same way. And it was very simple, very, very simple, but well executed.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it's the show definitely gets a lot of praise from me. It was great. I mean, the whole season 1, it left me wanting more, man. And at the end of the day, if you do that, you succeed. Mm-hmm. It left me wanting so much more. And even though, 10% of me is upset because I didn't get to see Nightwing, but at the same time, like I told you, I saw the other thing, and I was like, I'm good with this. And it was just epic. That's the best word I can use to describe it. It was such a... I'm very glad that DC started this new streaming service and that they're doing their own thing. I mean, look at all the things we're getting. We're getting more Young Justice, and we get all those classics. Like, I was watching The Adventures of Superman with George Reeve the other night, man. I was just like, yes, this is awesome, the New Adventures of Superman, Lois and Clark. It was just, it's a great service. I mean, it's a great service, and they're not paying us anything to say this. This is just honest opinion.
Right? Yeah. No, I wish.
Yeah, I know, but they're not. This is like, You're welcome, DC. This
No,
is
I
for
I
free.
genuinely do enjoy the service, and
Same.
I would say, and like the fact that overall I have a very positive impression of Titans, it definitely helps in assisting in that. But in the chat, Infinity Comics, I can't wait for the Tone of Swamp thing. Since we saw Superboy, what other characters do you guys think is going to show up? That's a great question.
I guess the cat's out of the bag.
Mhm. No, or
Yeah.
the dog is out of the cage.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Because
That's
well,
good.
I mean, we
The
know who
dog's
let
out of
the
the
dogs out.
cage.
We know who let the dogs out. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh man.
well, uh, I mean, I think there's a lot of chance for like little Easter eggs and cameos. We've seen a lot of those throughout the season, whether it be name drops, but actually visually seeing. I mean, I think we're gonna see Trigon like as a demon at some
Yeah.
point. Like, I think we're finally gonna see that. We're gonna see Nightwing at some point. I
Oh
can
yeah.
imagine.
And you
Otherwise,
know there's gonna be some sort of Connell Kent versus Dick Grayson, who's got the biggest ego or something like that. You know
that's
it's
true.
coming. You know
We're
it's coming.
gonna see Connor. I mean, we're gonna get Cyborg eventually. I
Yeah.
imagine. From the Doom Patrol. What else do I think we're gonna get? Well, actually, Doom Patrol character. We're gonna get Danny the Street. He's already been mentioned.
Yeah.
Remember they mentioned that? Oh yeah, they're in the old mansion on Danny Street. I was like,
I got that.
yep. I was like, oh, we're gonna get Danny the Street. Like, if we don't get Danny the Street during Doom Patrol, I'm gonna be upset.
I'm sure
Uh,
we will. I'm sure we will. That was just a little sneak peek.
do you think we get? So my question, like piggybacking off of that, because like the DCEU has two Deathstrokes. Like they've introduced in that post credit scene Joe Manganiello, who looked spectacular. The
Yeah.
Justice League post credit scene, and what's his name, Manu Bennett, who plays Deathstroke in the CW shows.
Oh yeah.
Do you think we get a third Deathstroke in Titans?
I think so. I think we could.
I just
And
I wonder I wonder if they're ever just gonna kind of come out and say that like Titans is in an alternative universe and maybe they'll
that's exactly where I was gonna get to. I mean, if they done Elseworlds in the Arrowverse, you know, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they drop a hint somehow about the Arrowverse or vice versa, you know, because the Infinite Earths, it just gives it so much more potential to do so much more, you know, like Smallville, for example. It was like it was its own story about Superman. You know, it took place on another Earth or whatever. But I got to enjoy it. You know, I got to really enjoy it and love it for what it was. So I think with the multiverse usage, we can definitely get away with a lot.
Mhm.
A
Do you,
lot.
do you think they recast Deathstroke or do you think they reuse Manu Bennett?
I don't know if they're going to be able to reuse Manu, to be honest with you. I mean, it would be good because he was good at it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed him a lot, but I don't know. I don't think they would do that, to be honest with you. You know how producers are and everything. I may be wrong. You know, I may be completely off my mind right here, but and they might get him again because he was great at it. But
yeah.
like I didn't think it could get any better than him. And then Joe Manganiello looked great as him.
He looked perfect.
Exactly.
That
So
that suit,
yeah,
geez.
exactly.
No, that was good. What other characters do you foresee potentially showing up in Titans?
Now that you mention it, that stroke, you know what? You know what's so funny? I didn't even think about that stroke till you brought him up,
Mhm.
and that's so funny because I didn't even think of that. I'm thinking Terra. I'm
Yeah.
thinking we're gonna get Terra. I'm thinking possibly, very possibly Aqualad. I would really like to see an
That
Aqualad
would be
somehow.
interesting.
Even though we have Aquaman going on right now, it would
Well,
be
I
kind of
think that'd be
cool.
smart. It'd be smart for them to capitalize because
I
I mean,
agree.
Aquaman just crossed like $950 million
Oh yeah,
worldwide.
biggest grossing DC movie to
Yeah, which
date.
is nuts. I mean,
I know.
I'd be really glad to see Aqualad. And I think that it's finally time that we get Garth, Tempest Aqualad, because
Yeah.
I love Jackson Hyde, who in the Young Justice TV show is known as Calderon.
Hmm.
I think it's time that we get Garth, a live action Garth. Do you think? Here's a good question too. With Arrowverse being a thing, do you think we ever get Roy Harper? I don't think so.
Yeah, see, I mean, I'm behind on Arrow, so I don't even know if there's a Speedy going around.
I
So
don't, I still, with that existing, I don't think we ever get a Kid Flash or
yeah,
a Roy
I
Harper.
don't think a Kid Flash maybe. I don't know why, but I feel like I have more hopes for a Speedy than a Kid Flash. I mean,
Really? I feel like,
maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I
I
don't
feel like
know.
we'd be much sooner to get like OG Wally West Flash,
Okay, yeah, I see that.
you know?
You think they'll go pre-crisis Wally West, or they'll go like like Ginger
Yeah.
Wally West? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what they should go with. I think that's definitely what they should go with.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's entirely possible because Ginger Wally hasn't shown up in the CW verse at all.
exactly. So I think if anything, that's how they could get away with it.
Mhm.
They could do that, but yeah, now Roy Harper. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one, man. That's gonna be a tough one.
I think I think also, like villains wise, I wonder, what would be great? I would love to get a Brother Blood arc. I feel like that's
Okay.
something that this show would tackle. Has a lot of really
Hmm.
like dark thematics. I think we're in a world where we could get Brother Blood.
Okay, I see that.
Let me think here. Maybe Mr. Twister. He's a pretty big Titans villain, but I feel like he might be a little bit, unless they really like up the creep factor. I know in
Yeah,
Titans
yeah.
Hunt, when they like finally reused Mr. Twister, they really upped the creep factor. So maybe they used like that version of Mr. Twister. Um, you know, I don't know.
And
Uh,
then also you have to keep the mind open to also a possibility of like, since Dick's in there, maybe a Batman villain jumps in there somewhere.
I was thinking the same thing because like a lot of Batman villains are being just absolutely stepped
Dude,
on in Gotham.
in the freaking there's that, and then like in the Arrowverse, in Arrow, they got like Ra's al Ghul, they have the League of Assassins, they have a lot of Batman elements. Like I remember watching, and I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah, you know what
You
I'm
know?
thinking? I feel like we could get Blockbuster.
Okay, yeah, I see that. I definitely see that. And what if with all those little villain nuts that we got in the last episode of Titans, we might get somebody like that,
Mhm.
like depending how the show does. I don't know. I mean, maybe not anybody from the Suicide Squad, but I don't know. Maybe they can throw a I don't know. Maybe some version of Killer Croc from Suicide Squad, maybe, or
I don't
sort.
think we
I don't
get.
know how, because the CGI is not that. It's not the best yet.
No, but I think it's also
But
just that
I don't know.
they're
I'm just brainstorming here. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why like I'm even iffy on like the Wally Wests and the Roy Harpers and such.
Maybe a Bane.
Maybe,
That would be a
maybe
good one.
I'd be down to finally see a good looking Bane.
Oh yeah, a Bane would be good. Yeah, a Bane would definitely be good.
But
Uh,
no, I mean I
it's
think
just so
we've
many.
we've thought a lot about like quite a few different characters. So middle of the season, right? We start getting into the Jason Todd episode
Hmm.
that we both love so much. The Titans finally form. We get a little bit of their chemistry as a team together. We get a little bit of that heat.
Hmm.
Dick and Corey, aka Starfire. Do you feel, because I know some people complain about it? Did you feel like the romance between Dick and Corey was rushed? Do you think like it was organic? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I see how it came about, but the thing is that I honestly don't think of it as a romance as much as it was a booty call at first. I feel like the first time it happened, it was just like, hey, you know what? We need some relaxation. We need to chill. And Corey wanted to she also wanted to get to know him more.
Mhm.
So I feel like she was just like, you know what? You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Let's get it on, you know?
Mhm.
Um, because that's the only reason why I don't feel like anything was rushed, because there's not really a relationship yet.
Right. Yeah.
After that, however, you feel like there's this like spark between them,
Yeah.
but you don't know what it is yet. You don't know what it is yet.
I
But then
agree.
as you go on, that's when you're like, okay, I see that. And then in his mind world, when when he's like married to Dove and everything, and then he's like, "Oh, it was Corey. She called. She needed me," and then she's like, "Of course she did," and then she hung up on him. You could see that that's the potential relationship that they go to be eventually.
Yep.
Which see, that brings me to my next point. Like, if it would be a shame, but we're never gonna have a bad girl probably in Titans. It would be a good little love triangle right there. But that's for our dreams.
I think it even like there's already like Dick is already in the Hawk and Dove love triangle. I think
Yeah, that's true.
actually too. That's something to bring up. I really like how important Hawk and Dove are.
Yeah, they see. I'll be honest with you, man. After the second episode, when what happened, I was like, we're never gonna see them again this season. I honestly thought I was like, we're not gonna see them again this season, and they became important. Like when Raven projected her astral self to them, and they're like, "Oh, help me," and that's when she woke up from the coma, and it was cool. I mean, I honestly didn't think we were gonna see them again. That's my honest to God thoughts. I didn't think, but they brought them back, and I was like, I'm glad they did, and they had a whole episode dedicated to them. I'm all in, even though it was cliffhanger, and then that episode, and I was like, okay, fine, you know what, I'll take it because they made you like the characters, and how because of pain they ended up getting together because his brother and her mom, the accident, everything happened,
And what's interesting,
it was great.
What's interesting is I know Bill, like Professor Bill from Comic Book University, one of his biggest complaints were they didn't really bring in the beginning after the first time we see Hawk and Dove, that he felt like they didn't really bring enough of the comic book lore into the Hawk
Oh
and Dove.
yeah, the whole gods of chaos and peace.
Right, but
yeah,
we finally we get that, and it's very subtle, and I think they did it really well because obviously being in an 11 episode season, you can't waste too much time on them. But they imply a lot. Was it the episode title? I think it was titled Hank and Dawn, and it's about their backstory, and it's like, oh hey, you lose your like they both lose very important people in their lives in the same accident, and by fate they're drawn together, but they're polar opposites who want to accomplish the same thing. I was like, oh, you're nodding at this, you know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
They nod at it from the beginning. I love that they interpret Dawn as the dancer, the ballerina. She's graceful. Because here's where I would give Bill pushback. I know he was really mad that Dawn actually fought. I was like, this is a much more realistic interpretation. She cannot. I mean, again, it's conjecture because technically anything can happen still because it's a world where Superman still exists.
Yeah,
but like you cannot have a credible television show where she's just dancing and people happen to clumsily hurt themselves in the fight. You know what I mean? Like,
you need it.
I wouldn't want to watch that because when it comes down to it, there are certain things in television that you cannot do, that you cannot adapt specifically and directly from the comics, and vice versa. That applies to every medium that you do that with, and that's what, like, they are different mediums for a reason, because there are things that you can do that intertwine and that interconnect, but there are also things that make these different outlets individual that the others cannot do. So I personally would not have liked watching Dove slowly, like, just dodging everything until somebody hurts themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I see why they did it. It's adapting something like that. It's hard, like you said it yourself. Some things don't translate well,
and it's blatantly a little bit convoluted because Hawk and Dove are characters that don't have a big fan base. They're very niche characters, to be real. And honestly, I think it's a beautiful thing that we got we got almost 2 full episodes devoted to those characters, and we at least got like an implied hint at the order of chaos and of war. I'm sorry, of what is it? No,
it's order and chaos.
Order and chaos. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that, and I love the love triangle. I love because, like, one of the things that I'm really glad that they captured was no matter what, like, Dick has always been a player. Dick has always been a player. Like, for those of you that aren't super familiar, there are 2 very big camps in comic books, and it's the Nightwing and Starfire relationship, and it's the Nightwing Batgirl / Oracle relationship.
Yep.
And you will not meet someone in between. For everybody, it's either or. I've never met anybody who's fine with either one. So Dick has done some schleeping around, and so I really love that. He has that relationship with Dawn, and I find it interesting that I feel like Dawn, if it weren't for the order and chaos, like mythology around her relationship with Hank, I feel like that would have been like his Batgirl. Like that was his first love.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
see that. I completely see that.
so I don't know. I think it's really interesting, but obviously, they're going to be judging the show being Titans and Starfire being a Titan. We're going to probably delve further into that relationship, so we'll see how that interacts with the
Yeah.
whole.
What if like in the near future, like we have a storyline where he's gonna marry Corey, but then the night before he marries Corey, he sleeps with Dove instead of Batgirl, like in the comic books or something like that.
Oh no!
How weird would that be?
Wasn't it like the other way around or something like that in the
I
comic?
believe so. Yeah, I may be mixing it up, but
Yeah, because
no, I
they
think
had
he was gonna
just
marry
broken up.
Corey. I think he was gonna marry Corey, but then I remember Babs was still in the wheelchair, and then he went to visit her, and then one thing led to another because he was going to tell her that he was gonna marry her, but instead they boned. So
Because
I think that's what it was.
he did that to Babs too at one point
I
because they had
probably
just
he's a
broken
player.
up. They had
Yeah.
just broken up, and Barbara went like knocking on his door, and
Hmm.
Starfire answers.
Yeah, that's right. Isn't she like in her undies or something, or like yeah? I remember. I remember that panel.
Yep. So we'll see. I like that they've added that in there. That Dick is kind of a player, and you know, for as much as I'm really glad that we're getting to see, the damage that Dick Grayson kind of constantly has to endure mentally and emotionally because of his upbringing, because of his trauma, because of his time with Batman. I'm really excited to see a little bit of that lighthearted Dick Grayson, and you can
Yep.
tell
Same.
that like Dick Grayson right now is at this very intermediary point where he very much has qualities of Bruce, but there are
Hmm.
times where he lets it go, and you get those great little um, comedic and like very lovable moments that he has with
Yeah.
the Titans. I don't know. I think they do a really really good job with just making this really really new familial relationship between everybody in the group.
I agree. I agree. I see what you mean. It's good. It's like you said before. It's organic. It just happens. It's flawless. It's not force. And in that Together episode, that's like the best example.
And
When they're like showing off their powers and stuff. I love that scene.
yeah, and
That was a great
also,
scene.
and here's one of the biggest conversations I had about like Aquaman in particular. If we started the first outing on a character and they were the character that you knew and loved from the comic books, what would be the point in watching them?
Hmm.
What's the point of the origin story then? Why are we watching, like, you know what I mean? I want to watch this character grow into the one that I know and love in the
Yeah.
comic books. Like I want to watch something. I want to, if from the beginning, I want to know like this is the character. Like fundamentally, this is that person. But they're not quite to the level that I know them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The
And so
Aquaman is a great example for that. You're right.
it's a great,
Because
yeah,
he's
because
he
like,
started as Aqua Dude and then he became the king of Atlantis by the next
yeah,
movie. That's
yeah.
a great example. I love that.
No, and it's like in the beginning, for example, in the beginning of the season, Dick kind of willingly just like leaves Raven.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, 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 I can't get too close. And then he realizes he's like, no, like this girl needs me just like I needed Bruce, and I can be that figure for her that Bruce both was and was not able to be for me. So getting to see that level of development from Robin, from Dick Grayson, I think was excellent. And watching him grow as a character for the most part was one of my favorite parts about the season. I will say it got interrupted by the Asylum episode.
Yeah, we don't talk about that
Which,
episode.
you know what, though, to be honest, up until the end, I
Hmm.
really enjoyed. I
Okay.
really enjoyed that. I know you thought it was kind of slow. Um, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun to watch. Just like it was kind of like a thriller movie meets the Teen
Right, right, right.
Titans. But it was really so spoilers for everybody. Raven finds out that her birth mother is somewhere in this asylum. She goes without permission from Dick and Corey with Beast Boy to go recover her mother. Obviously, they're kids, they're stupid, they get caught. Dick and Corey go to rescue them. Obviously, the people who caught them know that the rest of the Titans are coming. They end up capturing Dick and Corey. Dick is, I assume it's fear toxin or whatever he's getting injected with, but he's going through a bunch of crazy delusions. Starfire, they're doing biological tests on, and Beast Boy, they trap him in a cage like an animal. And what I love is that this really directly approaches each and every one of their demons, you know, because up until this point, they're moving in the right direction, and then there's this big roadblock that is the asylum and what happens at the asylum that kind of make them step back a little bit. And it's like, okay, like maybe this isn't like maybe them uncovering and defeating their demons is not going to be as easy as you thought it was going to be. And for the most part, I think that this did a really great job until the end when they blow up the asylum.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, this episode, I think thematically more than anything is about Dick Grayson leaving Robin behind.
Yeah.
And
that was the most symbolic part, the suit getting burned.
Right, and I love that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I gotta admit, that was good.
Was excellent, and he's burning the Robin suit at the end of the episode, and there's this little metallic tear coming from the Robin, and I was like, wow, like that was great. Like if you didn't just kill a shit ton of people, that would have been great.
Yeah.
But so at the beginning of the episode, the whole reason that Dick and Corey get caught is because Corey can't use her powers because there's an open gas main down there, and they reference that in the beginning. And in the end, Dick Grayson does what he does and beats the living shit out of a bunch of guards. And he willingly lets Corey Starfire blow up the building.
Yeah.
And so the entire time I'm trying to be like, he got them out, right? And then
I don't think so.
no, it was impossible because when you think about it, there's Gar, Beast Boy, Rachel, and her mother. They just got to the front of the asylum when it blows up. There's no way that they got everybody in there out of there.
Nope.
And it's
that's the thing that I don't like. No regards of life. It just like boom.
That's what got me wondering. I was like, okay, like this is supposed to be symbolic of like destroying Robin, but like you just did the thing that you were fighting against this entire season. You know?
Yeah, it was like one final one, I guess.
Well, because fire usually represents death and rebirth.
Yeah.
But like those people in the asylum aren't coming back.
Nope.
So I thought that was really strange, and I meant to ask when I had Brian Edward Hill on my show, we didn't have enough time for me to approach it, and I've been meaning to ask. Was like, so what? Like, how? Like, why did he kill them? Like, what? Because for me, I was like, he's gonna beat the shit out of him. I was like, if he murks all of them, I was like, all right, maybe he realizes that as Nightwing, he has to kill people, whatever. Like, this is a different interpretation. Like, maybe he just becomes, I don't know, but it's like the entire season he's leading you away.
Can't hear you. I don't know if you unplugged the mic, but I can't hear you. Very low. Very, very low. Try unplugging it, unplugging it back in. Ah, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you go.
Huh. I don't know what that was.
I think when you hit it by accident, maybe it got loose or something.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Am I too loud?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. I forgot where I was going with that.
Where were we? Yeah, it just threw me off.
Oh, so I talked to Brian
just went
Hill,
mute.
and
you never got to ask him why. What was he doing?
What was that all about? Because you were kind of going in this direction that Dick was going to become something entirely different from Batman. Like he was going to exact justice in his own way. It's like, okay, I don't quite like that he becomes a murderer, but if you're going to make him murder, like follow through with it. And then in the finale, the entirety of the episode is about him convincing Batman not to kill.
I know.
You just killed you killed more people in that building than Batman kills the entire episode.
Yeah, I mean, like I even try to be like positive about it. I was like, let's just say that they only had them in the building, but that doesn't make any sense. It was a whole facility.
No, it's like
Yeah.
you just became the one thing you were trying not to be the whole time.
Yep.
So I don't know. I've been keeping in touch with Brian, and I actually just messaged him that before the show started. So hopefully he gets back to me on that. Um, but yeah, I mean that was the one thing this entire season is like you're going, you're going, you're going. Your development is strong, steady, consistent. Dick Grayson is learning that you have to embrace, very different aspects of the way he's been fighting crime. Both some of the things that Batman uses, and in other ways he has to separate himself from Batman and be his own crime fighter. Um, and then that happens, and he just murks a whole building of people.
Yeah, that was that's the thing that bothered me the most. I mean, the robbing suit burning, symbolic, beautiful, majestic, but what led up before that was just that's. I think I will get past everything else, but that is what threw me off the rail. It just didn't make any sense.
And the thing is, it's not like it was just one bad moment in an episode. It was that moment was so integral to the character and just put this dent in his development. I mean, we know that after the episode, none of them are going to come out unfazed.
Nope.
There is going to be a chink in every single one of their armors up until this point now, but like that's big. That's
Oh yeah.
really big. And the entirety of the episode, I like the development. I love how they're all fighting their inner demons. Robin, more specifically, Dick is actually, the when he's getting beaten up in his delusions by the younger version of himself, it's him realizing that like you need to stop blaming Bruce. You need to stop blaming the world for your problems and realize that this is you. Like ultimately, Bruce is not forcing you to brutalize these people. You are brutalizing these people. So I I don't know.
No, dude, you're completely 100% right. That's what I'm saying. That was like my biggest issue with that episode. I mean, it was like I said, I can get past everything else. I mean, there was a few parts that I didn't like, but like you said, nobody comes out of that episode being the same. I mean, Beast Boy tasted blood. Raven had to do what she had to do so she could save everybody. Uh, Starfire is getting Area 51. It's like it's tough. Not and but then the suit burning, super symbolic, super awesome. The killing everybody. No, and it was just like they didn't even realize it. I think that's what pissed me off the most. That they were just like,
Yeah, nobody mentioned it. And then like 2 episodes later, he's like, Batman, you can't kill people. You can't
I
do
know,
it. I know I blew up a building full of people, some of which were innocent asylum inmates.
I know.
Like that was the biggest thing. Like, okay. He's like, I'm just gonna let it all out in this one literal blaze of glory. But like also you just killed a bunch of assumably innocent asylum inmates.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, and there's no way you can tell me that they saved anybody because by the time Raven, Beast Boy, and Raven's mother, who they just saved, are walking around the mansion, it blows up.
Yeah, it makes no sense. There's no way. Like
There's
they cannot even say that it happened off camera because it just doesn't add up. And if they say it happened off camera, I call bullshit. Pardon my French. Because
no,
there's no way.
I totally agree with you. And then we go into Raven spending some time with her mother. Dick, after that episode, rightfully so, needs some time to recollect himself. And we have that really fun episode with Donna Troy, which I think was great because, again, it's getting to see Dick interacting with another part of his past and learning a little bit more about himself, and kind of reaffirming the fact that he can still provide the world with his own sense of justice without exacting it the same way that Bruce did as Batman. And so that I think is great. This show, if not for anything, is filled with a number of great symbolism and metaphor that I think just really, really complements the fact that this show is about a bunch of young people with extraordinary abilities trying to find themselves in the world and find their purpose,
Yep.
because they're obviously going to have a lot more, I guess, they're going to have a lot more of a purpose in the world than someone like you or I would,
Yep.
especially with their abilities. Like they are going to directly cause things to change for the masses, depending on what they choose to do. So it's that's like one of the biggest highlights about the season. So plot wise, what's interesting is they go full comic book, So Raven's mother, we don't know why, we don't know when it started or how, but she's actually been working with Trigon's followers to bring Raven to her.
Yep.
In their old family home, there's some sort of curse that causes Beast Boy to go through mass delirium and start to actually like lose his shit. Uh, and so Raven's mother provides her with the ultimatum to call her father forth from the hell that they've locked him inside in order to save Gar. She does it. He saves Beast Boy. Dick, and this is the penultimate episode, Dick goes into the house after Trigon is revived, and the entire last episode is Dick living the best possible life he can, and it all being taken away from him.
Yep. See, one of the things that I enjoy about the last episode is how he almost made the right decision. Like he was making the right decision almost every time, but then Trigon would manipulate it in a way so that he would go the other way.
Yep.
And you would see it with that, like those waves in the air, like, vroom, and
Right.
you would know that I was Trigon manipulating everything.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I love
and
how I just thought it was like a great what if to watch. Like if nothing else,
oh yeah,
watching Dick versus, and like I'm not gonna lie, like I'm a huge Batman fan. There was some satisfaction to just watching Batman not give a shit
yeah,
and rip through crowds of people.
dude, watching him
Um,
finally kill the Joker, I cheered. I was like, yes, if only.
yeah, it was a great watch, and even the little bits of the bat suit that we saw from that was like, okay,
Yeah,
that looks cool. But yeah, the entire time, spoiler, we learned that it's all been this dark delusion that Trigun's using to take over Dick Grayson, and that's where we leave off the season. And I
yeah.
know a lot of people are really mad because the entirety of the last episode was inside Dick Grayson's head, but you know what? They did their job because now I'm like, what the hell's happening next?
That's what I'm saying. It was a
The
great cliffhanger. They want
the
me to come back.
the best ends of a season, especially a first season, are the ones that force you to watch the second season because whether or not you like that episode, you're like, I need to know what's happening. I need to know what's happening. Because
Yep.
the last shot we get is just Trigon talking to Rachel, and you pan over, and it's Dick Grayson. His eyes are pitched black, and you're like, oh shit, like,
Shit just got real.
and I thought, I mean, I'm really interested to see, spoiler. There's one thing that's not jiving for me right now, but I'm leaving it. I'm leaving the second season enough credibility to answer this for me. The inmate asylum, or like Raven's mother, why would she have given Raven to Melissa, like her surrogate mother at the beginning of the season, and not just raised her to praise Trigon? I can only assume that whatever happened in the asylum made her go crazy. Like they
Yeah,
they they pretty much like brainwashed her and manipulated
that
her.
could be. Or what if the house, just like it has a curse, the house has some sort of control over her?
I don't I don't know because that's possible. I feel like there has to be some sort of premeditation because the beginning, because I rewatched the Asylum episode today
Mm-hmm.
because that was the one episode that really stuck out to me, in terms of like I had some very raw emotion walking out of that episode, so I wanted to rewatch it. And there's a little bit of like that nonsensical, like very insanity trope-ish singing, like and mumbling from her mother when she first opens the door. And so I feel like it has to be whatever happened in the asylum. Like they've conditioned her mother into believing in Trigon.
Yeah,
Otherwise, if the entire time, Rachel's mother, what's her name? I feel like it starts with an A. It's not Angela.
Angela.
Angela. Rachel's
Mhm.
mother, Angela. If she was like with Trigon, for Trigon the whole time, I can only assume then that like Melissa was like one of the sisters of Azeroth that like took Raven in for herself.
Could
But
be.
I don't know. I almost wonder. I mean, again, like I'm not. These aren't things that I'm not mad that I'm left asking these questions because next season is going to pick up exactly where this left off, and I think they're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
resolve that for me. But that definitely leaves me wondering. It definitely leaves me wondering because if if she was with Trigon or kind of playing towards Trigon's game this whole time, why did she even give Raven to Melissa?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
I'm
Melissa,
sure they'll address that. But that's a
because
good question.
and it's also because at the beginning of the season, Melissa talks very fondly of Angela. Like when Raven finds out that that's not her mother, it's just like your mother asked me to watch you. I mean, she had a gun to her head. She could have been like, "Yeah, your mom's a crazy bitch. Like, don't don't go near her." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got you. I completely understand. Yeah.
That's probably like my biggest question going into it.
You know what? It probably was during the asylum. That's where they were trying to get her because the guy with the bloody eggs, he wanted Trigon to come to Earth, and
Mhm.
he handled the asylum. So that makes sense. That's probably what it is. I'm sure they will address it, but that's probably what it is.
And then
80% sure.
yeah, and then in the chat, Ant Duhar, the last episode sort of reminded me of Batman the Animated Series Over the Edge episode, which was dope. Over the Edge was the best episode of the new Batman Adventures, like the fourth season, I think. I remember when I first got internet, I was in like middle school, and I remembered fondly the Batman Animated Series, and I didn't remember everything about that episode. And I had just seen clips on YouTube of Gordon chasing Batman and Nightwing down in the Batcave, and I was like, oh shit, what's going on? And I rewatched the entire animated series as like a young adult, and I was like, this is spectacular. I can see where you can get a little bit of that. Yeah, I mean, I think there are some very basic similarities between the two. I don't think it's a very very direct correlation, but I can see little tastes and nuances that are similar between Over the Edge and the season finale of Titans. What do you think, Lois?
I see it. I have to rewatch the whole animated series again. That would be awesome. I got the whole thing on Blu-ray for Christmas,
Oh, I
so
saw
I'm
that you got the
excited to.
box set. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited about that. And you know what? Maybe they are giving nods to these classic things, like classic episodes,
Mhm.
classic movies. Like, do you remember the episode of Justice League for the Man That Has Everything, which is
Yes.
actually based like something like that? It's like it's this perfect world.
I think that it felt more like For the Man Who Has Everything, but using
Yeah, that's because when he mentioned that right now, that's what came to my mind for the man who
yeah,
has everything.
yeah. And I mean that's also based off of the comic book
Yeah, exactly.
by Alan Moore. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think I see more of a similarity to For the Man Who Has Everything because you start off Dick's delusion. He's lived a perfect life
Hmm.
up until you can see Trigon starting to manipulate it. What I thought was interesting, and hopefully, we get a little bit of resolution to our questions about the end of the asylum episode where Dick lets the asylum burn down. That it feels slightly inconsistent because he gave in to it seemingly he gave into those darker habits to that darker need to be violent and to kill. But then somehow in the final episode he has a lot more resolve to push against that. It takes Trigon meddling into the delusion multiple times for Dick to finally
Hmm.
make the decision to kill Batman. Like
Yeah.
it takes what it is like it's like 5 or 6 times. Dick,
About yeah.
yeah, continually makes the right decision at the cost of his own life or like what he perceives to be his own life.
Hmm.
And then he finally kills Corey and all those cops, and Dick finally just kills him.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that like between that and the asylum episode, it's like that would have had more weight to me if Dick didn't already give into those darker desires in the asylum episode. You know what I
I
mean?
know that's like you mentioned before. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know, man. Hopefully they give us a little like insight of what really happened in that asylum episode. I mean, I don't think, but I don't know, man. I'm just hoping because the thing is, like, that was like the deepest slope in my opinion, because that made no sense.
Mhm.
Like, just the fact that there was no interest for human life at all,
Right.
and I feel like at that point Dick cares enough
Yeah. Oh yeah.
to
Oh yeah.
to to know better
Well, the
not
entirety
to
of the
do that.
season, a big part of Dick's development is fighting against those darker urges to hurt people.
Exactly.
And then that happens without any concern for. I totally agree, but hopefully they'll resolve that in the next season. So we've been chatting here for a while. I kind of wanted to close out at the end of the day, the end of the season. What are your final impressions? Do you think you walked out of it with a much more, like, feeling much more positively about the direction? Are you not? How are you feeling about the first season of Titans so far?
Definitely more positive about the direction that they're going. Like I said, at first, I was skeptical. I was one of those people who like had his doubts, but it's grabbed me. It convinced me. The cliffhanger was amazing. Other than that, few couple of issues that we just discussed, the show is very well written. It's very well written, very well shot. Cinematography is fantastic. Colors or lack thereof are great.
Mhm.
Overall, the whole season one, it left an impression on me. I've recommended it to people, and if I had to give it a score, it would be like an 8 out of 10 for the whole
I
first
agree.
season.
Yeah, I would definitely also give it an 8 out of 10. I think this would be a much higher on my list if that asylum episode didn't kind of conclude in the way it did. I
Yeah,
think it stunts the growth of the character, and I think they could have found a way to stunt. Honestly, I think the way that they had technically stunted his growth by the end, it's like, Dick is finally getting that point where it seems like he's able to resist those darker urges to
hmm
hurt people, to induce pain, and then it takes literally the weight of the worlds to come down on his shoulder and his life to be destroyed for him to finally make that decision. But it's like that lost a lot of its gravitas because, again, he lost that regard for human life seemingly easy in the asylum episode. And I know he had been tortured, but that episode was supposed to provide some level of clarity at the end. He goes through the fire and flames and walks through hell to get to this conclusion, to find a part of himself at the end of it. And I think that's where it lost me. But generally speaking, I love the relationship between these characters. The casting was excellent. These actors do an excellent job at bringing justice to these characters on the screen. The scripting is great. Jeff Johns, Akiva Goldsman, and I'm missing one other person who is really integral. Something Walker, Brett Walker, maybe. Greg Walker.
hmm
They're doing an excellent job running the show. This was far better than I expected it being. It was far better than it had business being for the most part. This was
hmm
a Netflix quality show on an independent streaming service, and it was a great first outing for the DC universe. I will also give it an 8 out of 10. Definitely recommend that you guys watch it, form your own decisions, and remember, for me, I had a hard time interpreting some things in the beginning, being a hardcore comics fan. But you have to think that there is a different adaptation. And when it comes down to it, they are doing these characters right on a fundamental level
yeah.
for the most part. But we just want to close this out with you guys. Thank you to everybody who's watching right now. I appreciate you guys joining me this evening. And Lewis, obviously, man, it's a joy having you on.
Dude,
I'm really glad that
always.
we finally got to link up again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. It's truly an honor. I love your channel. I love your content, and I love talking about the stuff we love. I mean, this is priceless.
Absolutely, man. And if you guys haven't already, make sure to go check Lewis out. Link is in the description below to his channel. You can actually check out our episodic reviews of Titans. I do make a couple guest appearances over there, and hopefully we'll get some sort of ball rolling where maybe we'll talk Young Justice Outsiders back and forth, something like that.
I would like to, or if anything, we have Doom Patrol coming up.
That's also true.
So
We'll definitely work something out.
it's not the last you've seen of both of us. Let's just put
No,
it that way.
definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely working together in the future. If you guys enjoyed this, please make sure to leave a like. It goes a long way to helping this get circulated. Share this video if you know anybody that you think might enjoy this. And don't forget to subscribe to both my channel and Lewis's channel, link in the description below. And thank you guys so much again for joining us. I had a great time talking Titans. Lewis, again, it is always a joy to have you on.
It's my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. Really, it means a lot.
My pleasure, brother. And this is going to be Dark Knight Nation and the Geek Fortress signing out. Have a good night, guys.
Peace.